Are you staring at your homeschool checklist, feeling completely burnt out and overwhelmed? I was there. I knew it was time to stop pushing through the exhaustion and to strip away the non essentials so I could save my sanity. Today, I'm showing you how I pivot from rigid lessons and how I reclaim my joy during busy family seasons. I wanted to talk about this topic not because I've always done it right or because I have all the answers or I know all the secrets, but because I've often done it wrong. And I want to share with you so that way you don't make the same mistakes I do, or at least share with you so you know that not everybody's perfect and we all struggle with things like this. So for those of you who watch me regularly, you know that I've pulled back from sharing content and creating videos for you guys. And a big part of that was because I was burnt out. I felt like I'd lost a lot of joy, both in my own life and in my homeschool and in my channel here and sharing on YouTube. I didn't really have any content to share or any purpose in sharing anymore, so I had to pull back and focus on the basics and focus on the things that really mattered in my homeschool. And I have a feeling that you may have been feeling the same way, or that you can totally understand what I'm sharing here. So the first thing is recognizing the signs of seasonal fatigue. So we have life where we go in seasons, we have busy seasons, or we have slower seasons. I know around the holidays they can be busier, but I often notice like at the beginning of the school year, we're excited, we have that momentum of something new and exciting and something starting again. But we need to recognize the shift from the enthusiasm to like a heavy dread. Maybe it's a checklist dread, or it's some kind of dread that you have during mid-season transitions. So right now it's just the beginning of spring and I can feel it right now. There's definitely a change that's a little bit more momentum building because we're starting to think about curriculum for next year, but there is also a little bit of, okay, wait, I have to finish this year strong. I can't continue on just pushing through, and maybe even quitting. I don't want to slack off or homeschool for this year while I'm thinking of what's going to be coming next year. I need to stay present in what is happening like right now. And as we go through these seasons or change, or we notice some extra busyness and some extra burnout, we need to distinguish between a temporary busy week and a deep-rooted burnout that requires a change, a structural change, a change in your routine or your course load or how much things you're committing to outside of the home. What I don't always do well with is I either quit everything. I'm kind of an all or nothing. Let's quit everything, or I just push through and, take that extra drink of coffee or caffeine, if we need to, or just push through until, there's no joy in anybody. There's tense, the kids are arguing a lot, or you're arguing with the kids, you're finding yourself short with the kids. Definitely found myself there where I'm smiling less. I'm not, being as joyful around them and excited for what's happening. When I start to notice those signs, I need to pause and evaluate, especially for the sake of the atmosphere of the home. I need to pause and evaluate before it gets too tense or resentful. There ends up being resentment there, or you say something, or I say something that I'm going to regret. So if I start noticing those things, it's time to pause, and that's okay. Time to, take a simple day off, or ask the hubby to take the kids on a Saturday so I can go to a coffee shop, just kind of think and regroup and make plans for, the next season. I would love for you at this point to share in the comments, what is a specific burnout that you are struggling with right now, that you're currently seeing in your home? And maybe share what is one small thing that you can simplify this week to help reclaim your joy, or any scriptures that you use when you meditate on, when you need to find joy in your homeschool. Again, I'd love for you guys to share in the comments, so leave that down below as you keep watching here. The second thing is the art of selective simplification. I loved this phrase because I was like, oh, we can simplify things. That's like a big word. But we need to be selective about it. It needs to be purposeful. It needs to be intentional. Looking at, your daily load or your schedule or the things that you're doing, and simplify things. But it needs to be, like I said, selective. You can take a good look and evaluate your current curriculum and notice your power subjects or your things that are going well versus like non-essential fillers here and there. What are things that you're doing that could be non-essential? Like maybe spelling needs to stop for a little bit. And that's okay. That's what I've chosen for the last few months. We pulled back on spelling because I wanted to focus on other things. And spelling was just starting to be a filler or just something on the checklist to do. I noticed that my kids were not being very faithful or very consistent with doing their Bible time on their own. So I made sure that that's a priority. That is a required thing to do every day now in our school, because I want them to make sure they're prioritizing that, because they weren't doing that very well on their own. So that's the examples I want to give, that I've seen what are my power subjects and what are not essential. It doesn't mean I won't bring spelling back, which I've been looking at our load and think it's time to bring spelling back, especially for my younger two. The next thing with selective simplification would be transitioning from a rigid daily check boxes to a flexible loop schedule. And I like how it, flexible loop schedule that breathes with your family, it rolls with your family. To be honest, my personality is not so much that. I wish I was more like that. I have several friends, both online and in my real life, that do this really well, and I admire them, and I wish I could do that a little better. So this is something I don't do very well, and I will be honest with that. Because for me and my personality, if I don't have the structure, like kind of nothing gets done. We kind of just get willy-nilly. So I have to keep some kind of structure in there because that helps all of us, myself, stay on task. A loop schedule. So this does help us in a rhythm that we have. So I do have a video on my channel for what is a loop schedule and how does it work. You can check that out if you're interested and you don't know what that is yet.
It is loop scheduling. Hopefully you have heard about it before. If not, let me tell you what it is. The best way to describe loop scheduling is basically rotating or alternating between subjects or topics. So basically, you don't want to do all the things all in one day, right? There is just not enough hours in the day to do art
and history and science and nature and foreign language and music, all the things.
There's not enough time in the day to do it all. So what you want to do is rotate through each of those subjects. There's a way to do it.
But speaking of priorities, in our busy season, when you're in busy family life, you have the extra holidays or the band concerts, or you have sport activities or things coming up. My kids do theater, and we have a few busy weeks where they're doing theater stuff. We need to embrace the minimum viable day. I love that phrase. I heard it originally from Pam Barnhill on her podcast. It is a great concept to help us to maintain momentum. I think that's a good way to think of it. So minimum viable day is where it's like your very minimum. What are the 2-3 things that you're going to get done and you can call it a success? Because, we have our ideal days where we want to get all the history, science, writing, reading, arithmetic, math, or I said, math. You can pare it down to a minimum. So it's usually about 3 things is what you want to pick. When my kids were younger, that was always math, Bible, and our read aloud. And I try to kind of keep that to what we have today, but we can usually do a little bit more than that because my kids are a little bit older now. So it kind of goes along with the non-essentials. So what is an essential that you have to get done when you're busy and you can't squeeze everything in? Instead of trying to squeeze it all in and then feeling overwhelming yourself or your kids, or you're so overwhelmed that you don't do anything, if you know what I mean. Have you had days where you do that? I get that too, where you're just like, no school today, we're gonna watch a documentary on Netflix, which, it's okay to have that every once in a while. But if that becomes the norm, then that's not that great. You need to be able to move and transition back to make sure you're accomplishing your school. So I do want to share that I have another video about simplifying your homeschool load and decluttering it, and looking at, what are the most important things in your homeschool load, whether that be your curriculum or your extracurricular activities. So I have a video I've done on that, as well as a tool and a resource that I've made to help you do the same process that I do for this. And you're welcome to check that out. It's in my shop. I'll put a link to that in the description below. And hopefully that can help you out as well. You can watch that video after this one. So also what I've been thinking about when it comes to reclaiming our joy in homeschool during busy seasons, we have to prioritize connection over curriculum. And this is something I've not done well in the past, and I'm still currently working on. If you do this really well, great, good job for you. Please let me know in the comments how you make this work for you, and how maybe I would love to hear encouragement from myself for this. Like I've heard from other moms, you can replace your basic book work with like tea time or read-alouds and shared living books, which I actually do that pretty well, or I've done it better in the past when they were younger. But now that we're busy with older kids stuff, it's been hard to get that in. So I miss that, and I want to get back to that with the tea time or the read-alouds. And some of my kids don't love that. They really don't love tea time. So that's kind of why I kind of cut it out. But part of me just really wants to bring it back. And I think it can be good for just something a little slower and more simpler. And you could utilize audiobooks. Like, we love audiobooks. And that is something that I have been doing. So we've been listening to it in the car when we're on our way to a class or lessons or something. And over the last few weeks, I've been having everybody stop wherever they're at in their lessons, if they're done with school or not. We stop at about 12:15, and we break for lunch. And then we listen to our audiobook together. And then if I've got a little extra time there, we do our memory verse together and maybe our Shakespeare if I've got a little time there. And then if we still have some time, I do our hymn and our poem. So it's kind of like our morning time, but I've shifted it to our afternoon time. So it's not morning time anymore. Maybe I'll call it circle time. But that has been good. Using the audiobooks, let's go back to that, sorry. Using the audiobooks is great when my energy is low. And I'll be honest, I've been using them a lot because of my full schedule and what I've committed to. And the other thing I've been trying to do is focus on eye contact and connection and relationship and conversation, just talking about things rather than trying to complete things and rather than that checklist. So I try to take moments where I stop and I look them in the eyes. So anyway, just asking other questions like, oh, what did you think about this? Or tell me about that Minecraft world that you're building, when they've playing Minecraft a lot. So another suggestion that I've been thinking about that I haven't done as much or well with is rekindling joy through nature and rhythm, maybe incorporating handicrafts instead of, rigorous academic books, which again, I have one child that does really well with this, the other two not as much. But my oldest, she does crochet, she does drawing, and she does markers. She loves drawing with markers or drawing digitally on the iPad. So she's doing a great job with all of her handicrafts. But my boys, not as much. I feel like they're in a season where they need more, rough and tumble play or like building a fort in the backyard. So that's been on my mind. I've called a friend who has access to scrap wood, and we're going to get a, supply of scrap wood so they can start building a fort in the backyard. And I'm excited for that. Unfortunately, they can't do school at the same time as that because that's what handicrafts are nice. They're in here, here in the living room, they can work on it, paint, draw, crochet while we're reading or talking or singing or whatever. But if they're building a fort, they have to go outside. So it's going to have to be, but it'll be a nice thing once the weather starts getting better and they can be outside more. But we have been, taking walks again. And that has been so nice. Moving outside has been important for us. We've been taking walks more, and it isn't always in the morning. If we can get it done in the morning together, it's great. It starts our day. I love a walk in the morning with the kids to get our day started, but sometimes we can't. But often we'll do it in the evening, after dinner, even with my husband, with their dad. And it's been really helpful to help us find joy in each other and in our rhythms and our daily rhythms again. In these busy seasons, we also need to think about a sustainable planning for long-term peace. Because we know that this busy season may come to an end, or maybe it may not, maybe longer than we would hope it would be. We can do a few things to have long-term thinking in this. And some of that would be setting realistic boundaries for extracurricular activities that drain our family's energy. And my family has discovered some of those in the past few months. Some things that work well for one child and maybe doesn't work for the others. So we're trying to be careful with that and make sure we're not draining our family's energy with our choices of activities out of the house. And we've had to say no to a few things. I've had to step down from some leadership positions that I was holding that was not conducive to our family's sanity. Just to be honest, it was not good. So I have stepped down from that, and that's helped our family a lot. And another great thing is to design a reset week into your regular rhythm. So we do that. We do 6 weeks on, 1 week off. And I'm so excited the 1 week off is coming next week, or maybe it's this week when this video is posted, but it's our spring break technically. But it's great to have these reset weeks all throughout the year to help you with burnout. So it's either a time, for me, it's either a time of rest and, not doing all the things, but sometimes it's a time to catch up on things that I've let go over the busy season, some like housework or house projects. It's also a time of planning for school for the next season. And I know it helps a lot with the kids. They are usually refreshed after a reset week. And lastly, I want to share that sometimes we have to shift our definition of success or our mindset from completing the book to cultivating a love of learning. And this one, I go back and forth with this. Some days I'm like, yes, we're cultivating the love of learning in my children. They want to read these books and it doesn't have to be in the curriculum. We're learning every day. And other times I'm like, finish the book. You just have to finish the math lesson. So I don't know. I go back and forth at this, but I think overall it's good to have that mindset that we want to engage our kids just in the learning and in the education of the whole person and not just finishing a book. So if it takes a little longer to finish a book, that's fine. If we need to skip a few lessons and not finish the book, it's fine. So I've made some decisions personally on some books that we're not going to be finishing by the end of the school year for my kids. I've also made some decisions on books I do want them to finish that I feel like, okay, this is good. You need to finish this one. You need to finish this curriculum and finish strong. Hi, I'm Ashley. If we haven't met yet, thank you for joining me here at Joyful Noise Learning. I love to share about Charlotte Mason inspired homeschool, as well as biblically based curriculum, affordable curriculum reviews, and help for the scattered and easily distracted homeschool mom. I would love for you to consider subscribing so that way I can help you find joy in Jesus and in your homeschool and in your family. I'm a former English teacher and I've been homeschooling since 2013. If you want more, don't forget to check out I don't know which that is. Anyway, if you want more, don't forget to check out how to simplify your homeschool load. You might like that video after you watch this one, and I'll see you in the next one. I really wanted to talk about this topic not because I've been doing it right or I have all the secrets or have all the answers, but because I've often done it wrong. You're good.